The latest chapter in corporate scandals is closing. Elizabeth Holmes is convicted of defrauding investors with her blood testing company, Theranos. Hi there, everyone. It's Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English with current events and trending topics. This story is about a month old now, but I think it still counts as a trending topic. It's all about a company called Theranos, which promised to revolutionize blood testing. No more going into a lab to get blood drawn with a scary needle. Theranos was going to let you do all that from your house. Was going to, because Theranos went out of business in 2019, and its celebrity founder, Elizabeth Holmes, was found guilty of defrauding investors in late January. That's today's topic. You can find the full lesson at plainenglish.com/446. The expression we'll talk about in today's lesson is buy into, and we have a quote of the week from the inventor of the light bulb. Let's get started. Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of a company called Theranos, was once a darling of Silicon Valley business. She graced the covers of business magazines, she gave interviews on television, and she shared a stage with celebrities ranging from Bill Clinton to Chinese entrepreneur Jack Ma. In 2015, then Vice President Joe Biden lavished praise on Holmes and Theranos, saying that her company was the laboratory of the future. And for a time, it seemed to be true. Like so many successful entrepreneurs, Holmes dropped out of Stanford University to develop a new product. She called it the Edison test. This simple at-home blood test, she said, would be able to detect hundreds of conditions like cancer and diabetes without using needles. Consumers could take just a tiny sample of blood from a pinprick, mail it into a lab, and get comprehensive, high-quality results. If this were true, it would revolutionize the detection of disease, allowing more tests to be done in a less painful, more accessible way. With simple, pain-free blood tests, patients would be able to detect diseases earlier, saving countless lives. What's more, the tests were easy to administer from home, saving expensive and disruptive trips to a laboratory or doctor's office. But the promise wasn't true. The test simply didn't work the way she said it did. But that didn't stop her from raising over $900 million from investors, all of whom bought into her vision and product. And then it all came crashing down. Her business fell apart after an investigation revealed that the tests didn't work. Theranos was liquidated in 2019, and in January, the 37-year-old Elizabeth Holmes was convicted of defrauding investors. This was a stunning fall from grace. As CEO, Holmes maintained a captivating image. She carried herself with the confidence of a seasoned executive. She wore only black turtlenecks in the style of Steve Jobs. She was great on TV. In interviews, she manipulated her voice to sound more masculine. It didn't hurt that her name was Elizabeth at a time when so few Silicon Valley founders were women. At one point, Forbes magazine called her the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. At its peak, her company was valued at $10 billion. Her image helped her secure partnerships with trusted brands. Pharmacy giant Walgreens and the grocery chain Safeway sold her product in their stores, lending some credibility to her tests. Outside investors, ranging from U.S. senators to diplomats to finance executives, jumped on board, lending additional credibility to Theranos and to Holmes personally. But Holmes deceived these investors. She peppered her investor presentations with logos of pharmaceutical companies, implying that those companies had validated her tests. In fact, they had not done so. She also implied that she had a partnership with the U.S. military to administer blood tests in the field. That wasn't true either. But numbers don't lie, right? Maybe so, but Holmes didn't provide the same kind of technical and financial information that other companies in the industry provide. Still, things seemed to be working. So many investors, so many customers couldn't be wrong, right? Well, then, in 2014, an employee blew the whistle on Theranos. Tyler Schultz was only 22 at the time, but he could see that Theranos' tests weren't revolutionary. They were no different than the tests he could run with basic lab equipment. Many of the test results that Theranos gave customers were actually done with other companies' equipment. And when Theranos was validating the results of the Edison test, it used other companies' advanced lab tests. In other words, they measured the accuracy of other companies' equipment and then said the results validated their own equipment. Schultz contacted government regulators and journalists with what he knew. That was the beginning of the end. A relentless investigative series by the Wall Street Journal newspaper revealed layers of deceit and fraud in the company. An outside scientific study by the Cleveland Clinic found that Theranos' tests were much less accurate than other lab tests. One found problems in 68% 5% of the Edison test results. Theranos eventually retracted the results of 2 years' worth of Edison tests. That means that for 2 entire years, and probably more, Theranos customers got lab results that were inaccurate. In 2019, Theranos went out of business. And then, in late 2021, the trial of Elizabeth Holmes started. She was charged with defrauding investors and defrauding patients. Prosecutors said she repeatedly told a misleading story about the technology and the company's finances when raising money from outside investors. In her defense, she said she believed the technology was accurate, but that she, the founder and CEO, was manipulated by other employees at the company, including the chief financial officer, her former romantic partner. After a 4-month trial, she was convicted of 4 counts of defrauding investors. Each count carries up to 20 years in jail, though she will probably serve much less than that. Her sentencing is scheduled for September. If you're tempted to feel sorry for the investors who lost all their money, don't. These are people who should have known better. It's perfectly fine for companies to go out of business. Investors lose money on early stage businesses all the time. But these investors loved the narrative more than the business. They loved Elizabeth Holmes on CNBC. They loved her on the cover of Forbes. They loved everything about Theranos except the thing that mattered the most, whether the product worked. And they turned a blind eye to all the warning signs. They didn't do their due diligence because they wanted the image. They wanted to be associated with a person and a company that appeared successful. What a disaster. You can catch the upcoming mini-series on Hulu. They're also working on a movie chronicling Theranos' rise and fall. Today's expression is buy into. This is a tricky one because buy into doesn't necessarily mean buying anything. What it means is this: you believe in something. You can buy into a vision, a strategy, or a set of beliefs. A lot of investors bought into Elizabeth Holmes's vision. They believed in her vision. She was going to revolutionize blood testing. She was going to take something that was inconvenient, expensive, and even scary, having to go to a lab to get blood drawn. She was going to take that and make it cheap and easy, something you could do with a pinprick at home. That was a great vision, and a lot of people bought into it. They believed it completely. But as you learned today, they bought into the vision, but they didn't look closely enough at the business. Leaders of all kinds try to get others to buy into their vision. What can you do to get people to buy into your vision? You can explain your vision. You can motivate people. You can hire people who are already believers. Politicians try to get voters to buy into their vision for their countries or their districts. CEOs try to get employees to buy into their vision for the future of the company. You can buy into a strategy. I'm watching Succession on HBO Max now. It's a great show. No spoilers, but at one point, the top executives of the company don't buy into the CEO's strategy. The CEO wants to buy a big competitor, but the other executives don't think that's a good strategy. They don't buy into the strategy, but they're too afraid of standing up to Logan Roy, the CEO. So these are probably the most common ways to use buy into. And notice that there's no money changing hands. This is all about belief. You can also buy into a set of ideas or a concept. And interestingly, when we use buy into with a set of ideas, we often say we don't buy into a set of ideas. For example, I don't buy into the concept of Eastern medicine. Eastern medicine is using things like acupuncture, herbal medicine, things like that. It's based on an idea that there's vital energy running through your body. I can honestly say I don't buy into Eastern medicine. I don't believe in it. It's fine if you do, and it's great if you like acupuncture. If acupuncture helps your pain, fine, do it. And if you want to, then drink an herbal tea to prevent your next cold. I won't stop you. But I don't buy into it. I don't believe in it. I'm recording this in mid-February. I didn't drink alcohol during the entire month of January. A lot of people do that to get the year off to a healthy and balanced start. But I've met more than a few people that don't buy into that idea. They say that you should just not drink too much all year round. If you do that, then you don't need to take a break from it in January. Well, I buy into the idea because I found it to be helpful for me, but we don't all have to buy into all the same ideas, right? A lot of people say they don't buy into organized religion. They might be spiritual overall, but they don't buy into the idea of a church and its leaders and the bureaucracy and such. What about crypto? Some people buy into the idea of a decentralized currency, not controlled by any government. Other people don't buy into it. Cryptocurrency is a real thing, but it's also a set of ideas. The president of El Salvador has bought into cryptocurrency. As you learned in lesson 406, he believes in the ideas behind Bitcoin, even if he'll mostly use it to consolidate his own power. Where did Theranos get the name Edison? They named it after Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. And this is a famous quote by Thomas Edison. It goes like this: "I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Now, we can't hold Thomas Edison responsible for a fake medical device test bearing his name, but I do like this quote: "I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." And that's all for today's Plain English. Thanks for joining us as always, and congratulations on all the hard work you're doing in English. It's such a privilege to be part of your studies each and every week. Remember, you can always follow along with the full transcripts on the website. Today's full lesson is at plainenglish.com/446. We'll be back on Thursday when we'll welcome Spotify to the content moderation wars. See you then.